4 bodies were discovered both at the bottom of a cliff and on its summit deep in the mountains. One hung entangled in a tree, while the other 3 lay beside a bundle of gold and jewels and an uncorked bottle of wine. With no signs of struggle or clear evidence of foul play, the villagers trembled in fear, whispering tales of ghostly deeds. What on earth could have happened to these men? However, King Hyeojong, the wise 17th monarch of Joseon, is said to have instantly seen through the truth of this mysterious incident upon hearing its details. Yet his extraordinary wisdom wasn't limited to solving murder cases. His profound insight, which extended to even the smallest difficulties of his people, had already been proven through numerous anecdotes. On a bright, sunny day, a wedding was underway in the wealthy Yongbon aristocratic family of Hyunpung village in Gyeongsang province. The entire village was filled with a festive atmosphere, but the happiness didn't last long. The groom, after spending his wedding night, began to wear a dark expression the next day, eventually declaring, "This marriage is wrong," and distancing himself from his bride. When his bewildered father pressed him for an explanation, the groom couldn't bring himself to look up and reluctantly confessed, "It pains me to say this, but my bride, it seems, may not be a virgin." At that time in Joseon, a bride's purity was a matter of utmost importance, directly tied to the family's honor, so this confession could bring great shame upon the entire household. In a state of panic, the bride's father went to the village magistrate, pleading for help, but no one could offer a clear solution. Eventually, this strange tale reached the ears of King Haejong in distant Hanyang. The king, without needing to travel all the way to Hyunpung, dispatched a clever official to meticulously investigate the bride's home and its surroundings. A few days later, upon receiving the official's detailed report, a gentle smile spread across the king's face. Then he summoned the groom to the palace and addressed him directly. "Your wife is pure. However, from a young age, she frequently ran errands to the attic, and in doing so, she simply acquired scars from climbing up and down the ladder. Therefore, have no worries." At the king's warm explanation, the groom finally breathed a sigh of relief, and the misunderstanding melted away like snow. The couple lived happily ever after as a loving husband and wife, and the village of Hyunpung was filled with praise for King Hyeojong's wisdom. Let's return to the story of the 4 bodies on the cliff deep in the mountains. There were no signs of struggle or clear evidence of murder at the scene, causing the villagers to tremble in fear. However, after hearing about the locations of the bodies and the items found at the scene, the king pondered for a moment before stating clearly, "They are all thieves." The officials were astonished. Without any evidence presented, how could the king be so certain? Hyeojong calmly began to unravel the mystery. 3 of them were an old gang of thieves who had long committed crimes together, and the 4th was a new thief who had recently joined. After finishing a big heist, the newcomer must have intended to betray them to take all the gold and jewels for himself. However, the 3 experienced thieves noticed this and told him to buy wine, then lay in ambush. When he returned with the wine, they ambushed him, beat him, and pushed him off the cliff. The officials nodded as they listened up to this point, but at the king's subsequent words, they were once again utterly astonished. However, that wine had already been poisoned by the new thief beforehand. It was his final scheme to claim everything for himself. Unaware of this, the 3 thieves, joyful that their share had increased, drank the wine and eventually died on the spot from the poison. At the end of the breathtaking silence, all the officials bowed their heads. "Your Majesty's wisdom is like that of heaven." How did you find King Hyeojong's brilliance and this intriguing tale? If you're curious about more historical mysteries and fascinating episodes like this, discover a variety of stories on my YouTube channel, Mystery Footprint, Korea Legends and Sites. I'll be back with even more interesting content next time. Thank you.